So it's like the turning point is when it's like, oh crap, they're now a burden that I can't shake. It's like, well, I guess they're family now.
Kind of. No, but kind of. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Cule Kids. Ohana means family. I think one of us can do a Stitch voice. Like you can do this.
Ohana means family.
Okay, mine's okay. Ohana means family.
Wait, yours is pretty good actually. Maybe you should have just done it the whole time.
I'm JC.
I'm Milty.
I'm JJ.
I'm Eric. I'm Michael.
And this week we're talking about family. Interesting topic. Hey?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of want to start off with like a question that I guess is kind of relevant for our day and age is what does family mean to you guys? Like, I think it's a complicated question. Like, does it mean people that you're necessarily blood related to? Is it someone that you're married to? Is it someone that maybe you're not married to? And
I would say that I kind of view family in multiple ways. Like I would say that like blood-related families are one type of family, and like really close friends that you have a like deep connection to, that's another type of family too, like a found family. And that's probably a concept that is very relevant in like gay communities. But maybe it's because that now I'm a bit more educated in like, you know, having a poly relationship. That's why I can kind of view as like, I can view family as these two different like relationships that have different fulfilling like needs and such.
But you also have like a pretty large extended family that you interact with pretty regularly, right?
Yeah, I do. I have a really big family on just my mom's side. My grandpa's one of 6 kids. And so within each of those 6 grandparents, there's all these like kids and families and aunts and uncles. Our family reunions are usually like 60 to 80 people and stuff. So
it's a lot of people.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's really big. But the point being is that like we have like this really big family, and I don't know if that necessarily helps color how I view family, but I would say that if you have like a deep emotional connection to people, like they can be one type of family. Like I view you guys as my family too. But it is a little different than how I would view my own actually blood related family too. They're family by blood as opposed to relationships.
I don't know if it's like because I have like a fairly decent relationship with my family, but I feel like when I consider the concept of family, it's just like my parents and my sister and like relatives. And it doesn't mean that like my relationship with like you guys or like my friends is, I feel like, any like less meaningful to me, but it just doesn't, I don't think of that as being family for some reason.
Yeah, so this is something I've been thinking about for a while. It's like, for me, honestly, family is just a sense of kinship, but probably more importantly, a bit of you owe someone like to do something for them. Like as in like they're kind of, to put bluntly, they are a bit of a burden on you. And it's a burden you're happy to carry, I think, is what makes someone family to you. It's like they need something from you, you will do it for them, like no matter what. You basically kind of owe people in your family to be there for them. And that's kind of, to me, the core definition of what it means to be someone who's family. So by that definition, people that may not necessarily be blood related to you can also be accepted into this.
Yes,
category. For sure. There's no blood relationship to this. It is a feeling of kinship and a sense of like you owe them, like you owe it to them to be there for them when they need it. Like we're married, and then I've introduced you to like my parents, and like I know your mom, and so like I think for me that's kind of like a more concrete example of family because we kind of have those relationships. Like me becoming part of your family. Right, exactly. And I feel that too. It's like, they're my in-laws, but yes, I think of them as I think of them as family.
Yeah.
So it's like the turning point is when it's like, oh crap, they're now a burden that I can't shake. It's like, well, I guess they're family now.
Kind of. No, but kind of.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like same thing. My parents, my sister, and my grandparents on my mom's side mostly, because my dad's parents passed away when I was pretty young. And then like I know I have like aunts and uncles, but then because like I grew up in the States and they all lived in China, like it wasn't that I got to interact with them much when I was younger. And so like I know they exist. They are like technically part of my family, but I'm not entirely sure how to describe what that connection means to me. And like it feels weird saying it, but like calling you guys family instead of like something else, it seems to make the relationship feel less intimate. And I don't know why.
Like we both have kind of smaller immediate families. Like for me, it's my I consider my immediate family to just be like myself, my brother, and my mom and dad. And I think it's something similar for you.
So I've been trying to like figure out like as we're talking why I feel this way, but like in a lot of ways I feel like if I were to call you guys family, it would make the relationship seem like less intimate. And I think one reason actually that I'm like feeling that way is because when I think about my family, like I love them very much. I like they support me like 100%. But I feel like it describes a very specific part of my life and part of my identity that doesn't feel like the true me in a lot of ways. Like when I say I'm with my family, I think that's very telling in terms of like how I'm able to express who I am. And I don't feel that way when I'm with you guys. I don't feel that way when I'm with a lot of like our friends. And I think that sort of like terminology and feeling is why I'm hesitant to want to say that I consider you as family, even though I do feel all of the things of like, I would do anything for you. And like, I want to be there for you always. And I like, I don't want to say it's like a burden or an obligation, but like, I do feel like that sense of like responsibility towards you as well. So I don't know. It's just like a weird sort of like play on words, I guess, for me.
Well, these things don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? Like, yes, family is one thing, and then being free and open to be who you are is another thing. But you can have both with people, right? Like, it's not like, oh, I'm bucketing you in the family category. That means, yes, I owe you a responsibility. I do stuff for you, but I also have to hide you from you. And then I think this is why we have chosen family, is that these are the friends or the people that we know where not only do we have this sense like we're going to be there for each other no matter what, but then we can also be totally open about who we are and what we do. So I get where you're coming from, but it also feels like these two don't have to be mutually exclusive. So it's just like, for us, we're family, but better. Basically.
Family
right?
plus.
Yeah, family plus, right? That's the way I view it in this,
sounds
in
like
this situation.
a supermarket.
Yeah.
Family Mart.
What about you, Eric?
Uh,
What is family to you?
Well, so I think one of the things that I thought about was how like a lot of my parents' siblings all live like in the Bay. So like I grew up with a lot of them being around. But I do have one uncle that still lives in China, and I've only seen him like 2 or 3 times. And I think about how when he calls like during like Chinese New Year, like he'll call and then we talk a little bit just to say hi, like, oh, Happy New Year and stuff like that. And I think that relationship is a lot more similar to how like when any of the other like extended family members do it. Because that's really common for like New Year's, you call your relatives and you say Happy New Year. And so, it'll be like my mom's cousins and cousins' kids and cousins' cousins. And it's like all these people who I've never heard of will always, call like my grandma and be like, oh, Happy New Year and stuff like that. And I just like, will say hi to them on the phone. And then that's like it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that there's like, are these people my family? I mean, definitely like my parents, they treat them as family. Like they consider them family. They know who they are and they know all the like the family relations and the connections and everything like that. And like for special events or like special occasions, such as like when like my my grandpa passed, like a lot of people like actually showed up that I like hadn't seen or didn't really know. And for them, like, my grandpa was like family to them enough to like show, like, to like travel across like the states and to show up for something like that. And so they have like a very different relationship that I think I will never have with like my family. Like, I didn't grow up like so culturally ingrained in that part, but also like I don't feel like that as much of a sense of obligation to these people that maybe like my parents do. And so I'm a lot more on like the
Family is whatever.
family is kind of whatever you make it to be.
Because like these extended family members that you said, like you've never met them before, you've probably never haven't spoken to them maybe in like years and years and years.
Yeah.
Like, but you still consider them family. Like, who are they to you? Like, right? Like,
Yeah, it's really weird. So like one of my technically he's my cousin, I think. But he's like closer in age to my mom. So I think they like kind of grew up together.
so they're
And so-
like
and
something
so-
to each other.
And so when
right?
he like showed up and like he stayed with us for like a few days, I really don't know like what I was feeling at the time, but I still treated them like well. Like I've treated them how I think I was supposed to, like. But at the end of the day, I didn't really know this person very well.
Yeah, they're still a stranger.
They're still like mostly a stranger. Yeah.
Well, ultimately, I feel like it's like if some blood relative on the other side of the world died and you consider them part of your family, like, but what do you feel? Like, I would probably feel almost nothing. Whereas, like, if anything happened to any of you, like, geez, I would be devastated. Who I don't have any blood relationship with.
Oh,
I think also like thinking about, I think like that occasion for me, like really kind of maybe I learned a lot about how my family, like my like like my parents and like their relatives like operate. That's very different from like the way that I think we are here, like living in America, is that they like really relied on each other a lot. Like these other relatives were the people that they would go to when they needed help with things, right? Whereas like I think like American culture is a little bit more like focused on like you and the people immediately around you, and I think there isn't. And like the more focus on like the individual, so like the sense of like family maybe is different because of that.
here's a question: do you consider us family?
I think like I guess my immediate gut answer is like no, because like I don't immediately like make that connection in my head that like you guys are my family. Like I care about you guys a lot, but for whatever reason the word is not like associated in my mind. I think it's still largely informed by like my upbringing and like growing up with people that are my family.
Yeah, I guess like in a similar way, I also now that you're saying that, I can see where you're coming from in terms of like this is the feeling that I get when I think about family. My family being kind of like a smaller, more like isolated unit, and then us being like a different thing altogether.
I don't know. I just view it like you guys are this family, and then my blood family is this family, but it's still family.
It seems like me and Milty here consider us family in the ways that we have our defined family, and the three of you are like kind of on the no, not really side. And
I'm on the side of like anything is family. Whatever you like, the definition is very loose depending on what you want it to be.
but you specifically are like for your own internal definitions, it's not.
Sure.
I think even for like people in more conventional relationships, there is also the idea of like I want to get married and then start a family with you, where like I think there's like another step after that, like we are in a relationship and like even after being married, that like is the turning point at which like it starts to become a family. I think like it maybe has to do with like having kids or like other parts like of these milestones in terms of like becoming one unit. That actually leads to the change in terminology.
Fantastic lead in into our second part.
You teed them up
Yeah.
perfectly.
which is kind of discussion like jumping off from family, having kids potentially. And I just wanted to ask this question broadly. Like, what do you guys think about having kids as a poly kind of relationship?
I mean, for me, I think that just even before having relationships in general, I think I always wanted to have a kid. And it might be colored by the fact that I have such a large family and we're all so connected and stuff. But I think having, like in my head, having a kid is something that's really fulfilling. It is a way to leave like your mark in the world and to try to make it a better world, because you can try to teach your child to be better and to get to experience life and everything. And in terms of having a kid in a poly relationship, that is definitely a challenge to have. But it is something that I would like still.
Yeah, I would be lying if I said that I didn't have like a lot of anxieties associated with it. I think there's the idea of like, are we setting this person up for failure in life by forcing them into such an unorthodox sort of position? And like, never mind just like gay parents, but like having 5 of them, like good Lord, who knows how this child is going to be treated. And also just like, it's a terrible time to grow up in general in the world right now.
Even before that, though, I do feel like, am I setting up this child by bringing them into the world? Like, I'm not personally giving birth to them, but like I'm like having a child and raising them, and like what experiences they have, like they had no say in like what happened basically until they get to a certain point. Like everything just happens to them, really, right? And it's like what does that mean? Because I do have like I had a friend that like told me that it was just like, oh, like they don't feel like an obligation to their parents because like they didn't ask for this, right? It's like, you chose to have me, so if I'm giving you problems, you asked for it. You chose to do this.
I didn't ask to be born.
Yeah, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I do think that we have the capacity to raise a child with as much love as they could possibly handle. Like, we have so many extra resources in terms of both like time and like experiences and like ability to give sort of attention and care that a normal like 2-person relationship would not have. I think we would all like really love this kid because it would take a lot of effort to make it happen. And I'm also there is a degree of excitement to see like what kind of person we would be able to bring into the world. But I mean, at the same time, I like don't even want to commit to having like a dog. So it's definitely a big step.
Well, I think your reluctance to have a dog is a little different than the kid reason.
I am personally terrified of like having a kid and having that much influence on a person's life. Though I will say, like, I'm not sure if you've watched this show called BoJack Horseman.
I've watched part of it.
You've watched part of it. I think so. There is some visibility into a poly relationship, even though it's more of a comical kind of like. There's this horse with like a bunch of like with 7 different dads or something, and it's more played off as like a joke. But I think like the visibility being there was kind of important for me too. It's just like, okay, well, you know, it's like not, I don't know how realistic this is, but at least like, you know, it seems like it could be okay.
Yeah, it makes you really think about how you're gonna hyphenate all the names.
No. How would we do the last name?
We have this already. It's Chengdu Wang.
Oh my god.
Chandu Li Wang.
Oh my.
Oh yeah. No, that's right. I said it wrong.
That's gonna be.
It's just alphabetical. Oh, there's the 2 different Lees.
Yeah.
spellings.
Chengdu Li Wang.
Yeah.
Good luck, future teachers.
Was it just in alphabetical order? Was that like?
Yeah.
Okay, and it works pretty well.
Yeah.
Wait, can you say that again? Chengdu Li Wang.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna put the 2 Lees together.
It's an
Yeah.
It's an alphabetical order. I mean, that's short of some other last names.
It is a 5-syllable last name.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 of the last names are only 2 letters long. So
So there's actually another example in media. I know, JC, you brought up BoJack Horseman as one of the things where, there was a poly relationship and raising a family and that. I actually think probably a less comical portrayal is Andrew On's reboot or reimagination of The Wedding Banquet.
The 2025.
The 2025 remake of The Wedding Banquet. And actually, and to some extent, the original Wedding Banquet was also was kind of like that. Basically, in both cases, the ends, and spoiler alerts for those who haven't seen it yet, but in both films, the original one and the remake, like what does end up happening is there is an unconventional family structure that appears with kids. And I think both of those portrayals are pretty hopeful in terms of like the success of that kind of family. Clearly in the media, there's hopeful portrayals of raising families in unconventional family structures. Like, I actually look to those two movies as like kind of like some additional validation that this can work and that it's not just going to be a giant disaster or something like that. So I am very grateful that those two films are out there to help us like feel like that this is something we could do.
Mm. Yeah, and I think like Steven Universe is like another example of a media where there's one child being raised by multiple parental figures.
Yeah, that's another good one.
I know that like, there's also, I have seen resources of like poly families, like specifically for poly families raising kids. So yeah, media is not as abundant for poly families, but there's definitely stuff that exists.
Yeah, and it's like a happy portrayal as opposed to like a tragic portrayal, which I think gives me hope. So
also part of the hesitation is like from like not being necessarily given like really great examples of how to raise a kid in like a healthy environment. And I think this is probably true for a lot of people in our generation, having households that might not necessarily be that stable, and then seeing that manifest into how you are as a person today, like how I am as a person today, not wanting to repeat that and pass on the generational trauma. It's hard to want that for someone.
But the fact that you recognize it is a step up from what, our parents were like, where they probably didn't even realize that what they were doing was bad, or that that their behaviors are toxic, or, not things that they should do. So I think that should count towards you, like that should be in the like pros side in terms of like why you might make a better parent, because you recognize these problematic behaviors.
Yeah, I would say that like, coming from the fact that we're all like first gen born and raised in the US, we have like that hindsight of like our own like Asian culture and American culture. So I think that we do have like more perspectives into like kind of recognizing which behaviors weren't that great in terms of like raising a kid and vice versa.
Like I do wonder if that's the case. Like if like everyone has parents, our parents had parents, like they probably had what?
As so many
do. I was born at a young age. And they probably had, potentially had traumatic experiences with their parents. So it's not like a completely like a strange thing to look to your parents and try to avoid those behaviors. So I mean, I do wonder if it's just something that's just unavoidable.
I mean,
parents.
I can acknowledge that like, like my mom tried her best, and so I don't like fault her for anything. I think I would also try my best, but that also doesn't mean that I like won't fall into some of the same like habits that she did. Yeah.
What are some things that we should try to avoid doing?
Being too emotionally unstable or putting our problems prioritized over their stability. If we get into fights, then have them see that there is a way to resolve these fights and be stable enough to take care of them and like be there for them, and have expressions of love with each other.
I wonder if like us being 5 makes that easier, where it's like, okay, dad 1 and dad 2 are fighting, and dad 3, 4, and 5 are like, oh, let's go play with the kid.
Yeah.
Like let them figure it out, and like we'll come back to them when things are okay.
Yeah.
And in some sense, I mean, that is kind of like how family units, like some family units with extended family work today, right? You have maybe like your live-in aunt or something that's with you and like can, just also in some sense that's kind of like a poly relationship.
With raising a kid.
With raising a kid, yeah.
Sure. Like just having people beyond just the mother and father help with like the child rearing. I mean that is, yeah, that's totally been a thing. Like,
Yeah. I definitely didn't have that experience though. Like even though like my aunt lived with me like starting at like maybe like when I was like 10, like I don't think that she really was much of like a parent figure to me. Like
but you were already 10 is the thing.
sure, but I mean you're 10, you're still a kid. You're still growing up, you know.
One thing I would want to avoid passing on to my kid is my anxiety / inability to just let things be. My dad would like get very anxious if things weren't done exactly his way, even if they made no sense. And also was like frugal to like a fault. I don't want that sense of like, oh, everything's gonna be going wrong and you need to like, like protect yourself from every single thing, like to be like the default mode of existing for this person. I want them to like at least live with like some amount of freedom, the ability to be okay with things that don't end up the way you would expect them to be. And like maybe this is coming from the fact that my dad was not like any of these things, and it's definitely been something that's been creeping up in me as I've been getting older too. So those are the things I would like to avoid. I want my kid to be generous, flexible, and just less fearful of everything in the world.
You also have kind of a unique upbringing compared to the rest of us in that your parents were divorced.
Yeah. My parents separated when I was a kid, so I didn't actually get to grow up in like a double family household, single family household. And I'm actually very grateful for that because my mom is nothing like my dad in that sense. So she has a lot of things that I would like to emulate as a parent.
This may sound callous, but oftentimes I would fantasize that my parents would divorce. And yet they didn't.
Well, sort of like following up on your point about your mom, what are some things that you would want us to do to emulate?
Well, she was the one that instilled this idea that family is important to me. So that's yeah, I know, right? Exactly.
Yeah, it's really hard to think of things to like want to avoid besides like the very obvious things, right? Like I want to avoid passing on toxic stuff, very obvious things. But I could definitely think of things that I would definitely want to try to instill in my kid, right? I would want to kind of instill a sense of trying to be like very balanced in life, like having very deep like interests in like intellectual things, but also physical things, right? Having a balance between like family and friends, having fun and having a childhood, and also being very like diligent about studying and like those type of things, because I think those type of things are going to be very helpful in terms of like having a person who's like very well rounded and more balanced and such.
Yeah, I think I will at the very least be one of these sources of tiger parent.
Yeah, you said that you'd be the tiger mom.
Yeah, like I'm happy to let them pursue whatever like interests they have, but if they are going to choose them, they better put their effort towards it, and they better figure out how to be good at them.
What if they're not good at them? What would you do? You just be like,
well, we work together to figure out how to like if that's the path that they chose, then like I will respect it, but we're gonna get to the end of this path one way or another.
Maybe also just introducing more things, right? Exposing them to something else, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm interested in this," and then they're really good in that thing.
And like I think I have, I don't know, kind of like I think I'm an okay teacher.
I think so.
Yeah. So like I hope I'd be able to help provide them with like the necessary guidance and support so that they're able to succeed in like the goals that they set for themselves. But I'm not going to be the type of parent that is like super hands off and just letting them do whatever they want if it's not accomplishing anything.
I would hope that I'm also a pretty good teacher too, in terms of like I just like in my previous jobs I've always liked the mentorship and like teaching people, and I hope that comes off when I'm also raising my kid too.
I think for me it's like more of a baseline anxiety of like I just want them to be able to survive in whatever new world is coming next. Today it feels like such an unstable society. Like I can't even imagine what it'd be in their lifetime.
I think that's just like a different mindset you have to have. It's not like here you are in the world, suffer. It's more like here you are in the world. Now you can find all these things that you can do to be happy, right? You can have friends, you can have like interests and stuff and family, right?
I mean, I think you can only hope, but like you don't know what's gonna stick with them. Like, I think there's still the fear that like, what if they do feel that way, regardless of like what you try to do.
Maybe it's kind of like up to us to like show them that like there is joy in the world and stuff.
Life, like family, is both a gift and a burden.
So another question is, if we were to have a kid, what does that look like?
I guess my fantasy is that if I had an option between like surrogacy, like being blood related, or adoption, I would probably prefer the blood relation part. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I just come from a big family and having a little bit of blood connection is somewhat valuable to me. I know it's very expensive, but if it really came down to it, I would not say no to adoption. But I think, given the preference, I would prefer surrogacy.
Yeah, I went to a conference. It was like Men Having Babies a few months back in SF, and they talked about like the process of like finding a surrogate and like egg donors and that whole process. It takes a really long time, and it's like $200,000 per kid. So definitely not a small investment, but the option does exist.
Is it 200,000 per success or per attempt?
Per attempt, I think, right?
I do think
That's
that
crazy.
some of the cost is like you don't have to pay the full 200,000 each time, right? Like if it fails at like the stage of like creating the embryos, then you don't have to pay for like the surrogate.
That's true. Right. Yeah. For me personally, like I don't have a preference between surrogacy or adoption. Like I think, like given that like blood relations don't necessarily mean like having like a good relationship, maybe the ones that are more in need of that or would more appreciate having parents would be like adopted kids.
Yeah, I feel kind of two ways about it. Where like I think I would ideally like to have like my genes passed down, but also like in terms of priority order, in terms of like who wants kids the most in like this group, like unless we have like 3 kids, it's not going to matter. And then also like to your point of like an adopted kid, like that's someone like we're providing them hopefully like a life that is better than what they have already been given. And that sort of like turns the idea of like the selfishness of like having a kid on its head a little bit. But at the same time, there's also the idea of like this adopted kid. It's already hard to be an adopted kid, and then we're also forcing us to
That's
like
true.
a whole bunch of other like factors. So like maybe it isn't actually better. I don't know.
And how does that work legally too? And there's a whole host of
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, I wonder how it works. Like if you go to an adoption agency, because I think they interview you maybe, and then they're like, "Oh, what kind of family structure do you have?" And we're like,
We all
We
walk
have-
in like with like chain, like arms
In star
together.
pose.
In star.
We just shuffle through the door.
I remember us talking about it a little bit in the past, and you said you mentioned that you would want the kid to be gay.
Oh yeah. Would you realistically, like honestly, would you not be the slightest bit disappointed if our kid turned out to be straight?
I mean, there's so much we could teach them if they were
It's like,
gay.
you had so many great
Right.
exammes of
Oh,
like
okay. Well,
how
I
to
don't
be.
know about- I don't know
Oh, but
about
this
that.
is
Why
kind
don't we
of
teach them?
wait. But this is assuming that you want boys. Like, do you want boys?
That's
or do
true.
you-
Oh,
That's a
that's
good
true.
question. Yeah. Do you guys
Oh.
have a preference for gender?
I would actually prefer having a girl. Like girls.
If it's a
seem
girl,
a-
it can be they can be whatever they prefer.
Yeah. I-
Mm.
based off of my very small sampling of my friends and their kids, girls seem easier to deal with and raise than boys.
Well, based on my sampling size in like just my blood family, I think there are more male children than female children. And I think for the most part, I hear people saying that raising boys is easier than raising girls. So.
Okay.
For me personally, I don't really care. They're their own person. I would prefer to have 2 kids, right? Because I grew up with a sibling, and I think that that's a really special experience. So maybe ideally it would be a boy and a girl, but I don't mind if it's 2 girls or 2 boys or whatever.
I have a younger sister, and I think that like my parents were really happy with having sort of like both experiences, and also for us to be able to be there for each other. Like now that we're older.
I do think that if we do end up having a girl, that like we should probably educate ourselves a lot more.
Yeah, like their experiences that they go through that we can't possibly have like known how to deal with, and we need to still be able to support them through like anything that they encounter.
And with like for better or for worse, with a heterosexual couple, like you have
One of each.
at least
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
We can turn to our our viewers for help.
Yes. Help
Yeah.
us.
But yeah, as like an actual answer to the question of like whether or not I prefer the kid to be gay, I do say it like mostly jokingly, but I do think there's also like there's a lot more areas in which like we would be able to like share experiences and like understand like the path that they're going through if we are like experiencing the same things. Like obviously, if the kid is straight, like I'm still gonna love them, and I'm going to like want the best for them. But I don't know. It's just like I think it would be kind of fun and I don't know, kind of interesting for there to be like just like a whole household of homosexuals.
But in some way, like that's the beauty of like of adoption. Like if maybe in your mind you're not thinking about adopting a child at that age, but like if it were the case, then like they would have so many different examples to look to if they were struggling with those kind of issues.
Yeah, but then you're kind of getting into like foster home territory, right? Like, which is like, I wouldn't even know what that would look like.
Just snatch them off the streets.
Oh God!
For the
Don't
record,
give-
nothing
don't-
that I'm saying is serious.
Don't give the
Don't give
whatever-
these conservatives
yeah
ammo.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's like if we do have a kid then, right? There comes a point where they would have to interact with our family. So how would coming out to our family as poly look like then?
And when would we want to do it? Respect to like the overall timeline.
Like, yeah, do we want to come out as poly before having the kid, or
I mean, like
being
100%, 100% before we have the kid.
okay? To be fair, I know a couple where they got married, they had a kid, and then one of the husbands goes to their family and says, "Oh, by the way, I'm married. I have a kid with another person." So
It definitely happens.
How did that go?
Yeah.
they were shocked, but they got over it. So I mean, all's well that ends well in that sense.
I think it would be, if I did that to my mom, she would be pissed.
I think it's because it's like it is a bit rude to not kind of inform your family about your milestones, right? It's kind of like you'd want to tell them, hey, I am with my partners and we are legally together. And then the next step is like, hey, I am now having a kid with my partners it's kind of rude, right, to like immediately jump without informing your family before that. So it can happen, but it's just not
Well,
ideal.
I think it also depends on the family. Like, I don't think like my relationship with my mom is like that. Like, I think she would prefer if she didn't know my problems, like,
Mm.
and she wasn't exposed to that because like she's pretty high anxiety too. So like,
So do you think you would want to just go through life having a child and never letting your mom know?
I think it would be easier.
Do you think it would be easier to hide an
Oh,
entire
no, no,
person's
no, no.
existence?
Sorry, I didn't mean like, I didn't mean that way. I didn't mean it would be easier to. I just had my life and she had her life, and like they didn't mix.
So it's like, I guess for you, it would be like, she knows that you're married to JJ. So then if there's a kid, it's just like, oh, okay, pretend it's just like you and his, if for any sort of like interactions with your parents.
Yeah, I mean, like we've talked about this before with my mom, and like what she says is like, if this kid does not have your blood in it, then like this kid is not my family. Like, I don't consider this person as part of my family.
Fine by me. I would definitely come out to my family about this before having a kid. I would. Which means the clock is ticking on doing this soon.
How much of your family?
All of them, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think... Well, yeah. I don't think any of them would freak out too much.
But like, how many of them are important enough that like, it's like, we're having the kid, it's like, oh God, I gotta call Uncle Gary. Like,
I would, proactively come out to immediate family. And then the rest of the family, I will not hide it from them. I'll just they will just see it. And then if they have questions, I will explain. And then that's how it is.
Mm.
Yeah.
One thing that I've thought about is just like, if I were to come out to just say like my parents, I don't know if I would come out to like the uncles and aunts like that, because just like, I don't know, adds too many complications.
don't know them like that.
And then, but then it's like, okay, if I don't like bring someone around for like holidays and something like that, they're just gonna be like, oh, where's your girlfriend, where's your wife? And then it's like, okay, so do I deal with that? Or do I just like be like, okay, this one is my boyfriend. And then the rest of you guys can just like not deal with that. Like, you're like the designated like go to family party boyfriend.
Oh.
Who wants to fill in that role?
The tribute.
Yeah.
I guess not having these family gatherings is actually a blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
Because you don't have to deal with
deal with
this.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to come out before, obviously, having the kid, because I think like my parents want to get involved as well.
I'm thinking about this now, and you guys talking about like how, Eric, you have a designated boyfriend.
No,
right?
there's just like a hypothetical. I'm like, is this a good solution? Like, would this work, or like, should I just like not bother at all? Like, what's better? I don't know.
I don't think so, because imagine having like, let's say you're at the point where we do have a kid and stuff, and then you bring them for family like gatherings on your side, then they have to also now pretend, right?
They can just be somebody else's children, not mine. I don't know. No, I don't know. No, like I'm saying for the sake of these family gatherings,
Yeah.
I don't have a child.
You should come up with one name and then just like bring a different one of us each
every time
And see if they notice.
And it's like, hi, I'm Michael. Remember when we met that last time?
Yeah.
And then they'll be like too embarrassed to be like, oh.
They take family photos.
They'll look at the photo and be like, look at different people. What is happening?
Have you lost height?
Luckily for me, I'm already out to my family as Polly, and even to some of my extended family too. So at least in that regards, I think that we don't have that obstacle there. That's kind of nice. I could bring all of you, and also like our kid in the future to my family gatherings, and I think that'd be totally fine.
Let's just all go to the Milty's house.
Yeah.
Just do that.
Yeah, easy
But-
enough.
But JJ, like, I think your mom might have at least hinted that she kind of understood at least what a poly relationship could be.
Oh yeah. A long time ago, she had asked, just given that she had asked me once, even when I was dating JC, or are you dating another person at the same time? I was like, wait, what the hell? And then at the time the answer was no, but it's just like that has been like buried in that's like lived in my head rent free for the past like 5 or 6 years, in terms of like she knows that this is an option. She knows that this can happen. So maybe I just gotta like be like, surprise.
And I think,
Well,
and my mom thinks Omegaverse is an option.
That's how we have the kid.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, which one of you is gonna get pregnant now?
Oh my god.
Who's the Omega?
Yeah.
Did you take your Omega heat suppressant pills?
Is that what the thing is?
This is clearly a side of the internet that I have not been exposed to.
We should do an Omegaverse. We should do an Omegaverse episode for sure.
Wait, what does that mean? Like explaining it or like
Explaining it,
acting it
and-
out?
But
or
none of
both?
us would know anything.
Let me get my like balloon and like just put it like, oh, today we have an announcement.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Oh god! If the
Surprise.
Cule Kids turns into some Omegaverse like fanfic thing, like, oh my god!
Don't
Like-
give them any ideas,
Yeah.
please.
Like we become this becomes completely detached from reality at some point.
Family is clearly a really complicated topic, and it's something that we're all trying to understand and process. So if you have any thoughts on family in the context of a polycule, or if you have any advice for us, please feel free to leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok. You are officially a cool kid for listening. See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I'm Stitch.
I'm Stitch.